and welcome to another of my 10-minute watercolours, and this time I'm going to focus on a sunset. Well, as you can see, I've just drawn on this scribbled line and a couple of leaning trees which are acacia trees, which you often get in Africa, and I want to do this as an African sunset. Here I've got just 4 colours. I've got ultramarine here and light red, and then a blob of raw sienna and a blob of burnt sienna. So the first job really is to get a mix made of these two. So I want it to be really strong, really plentiful, and I'm going to stir all of that ultramarine into a really sludgy puddle, and then I'm going to start adding the light red. And if you are using the Winsor & Newton Cotman light red, be very careful because it is very strong. We don't want too much in there. Okay, so for the graduated wash, I'm going to use the medium hake or medium Harkay. And I'm filling it up with water, as you can see, giving it a good soaking in the pot, and I'm going to lace water across the whole of the sheet. So I'm using Bockingford, 300 grams per square metre, cold pressed or not, whichever way you want to refer to it. And what I'm doing is I'm getting a couple of good brush loads, really full, and I'm going to wet the whole of the page right down to the bottom. I'm painting on a gentle slope of about 12 degrees, so the water is just slowly moving down. Now I'm going to get a little bit more because I want to make sure I'm going to treat the masking tape as part of the wash, because I don't want it to dry around the edges quickly. So the idea is to get a really heavy shine on that and to even it out with the brush. And I'm going to go straight into the raw sienna. I'm going to push the brush into that. I'm going to get plenty of paint on it. I'm going to turn it over and give it a good shuffle. And what this does is it smooths the paint out, so I haven't got any lumps in the brush. And then I'm going to sweep that all the way from side to side as quickly as I can at the bottom, and then gradually work that upwards. In fact, I'm going to get a little bit more paint because I don't think that is strong enough. That's better. I'm not going to wash the brush. I'm going to go directly to the burnt sienna and give that a good shuffle as well, pushing the brush right into the paint. This is straight from the tube, this paint. And I'm going to wash this in from the top, like that, and ease that down. Thing is, if you keep taking your brush to the top and easing it down, it will pull the paint down into the raw sienna. Now then, I'm going straight into the plum colour at the top, and I'm doing the same with that, smoothing it out and then easing the brush down to about halfway down, and any brush marks that appear will smooth out because the water on the paper is still active. So I'm going to refer to my little plan now. I'm going to get lots of the plum colour in the brush, and I'm going to put in, I'm just dabbing it now. So before it was a sort of long sweeping motion. Now I'm just sort of flicking my wrist, turning the brush to vary the width of the cloud. Look, that's what I'm planning. I want it to end there. And then I've got another one sweeping in here, which sort of comes down and tapers away about there. And then, while I haven't got much paint in the brush, I'm going to just create 1 or 2 of these wispy lower clouds. And I'm just using the trailing corner of the brush. And I want these clouds to be much paler because they're down near the horizon. There we go, and I'm just going to beef them up a little bit more at the top with a little bit more paint. And then I'm going to leave that to settle all by itself, because the active water on the paper will continue to have an effect on that paint. So I'm going to leave it to its own devices now. I'm going to walk off and leave it and let it settle. Okay, so I left that to settle for a few minutes and I've dried that off thoroughly with a hairdryer. And as you can see, we've got this beautiful sunset sky now. And the lovely thing about a sunset is that everything in the foreground can now go into silhouette. So I'm just going to use the really thick plum colour that I made earlier, using it really strong. And I've got a number 6 spearhead brush here. And I'm just going to paint in the tree trunks of these acacia trees. And as you can see, they're just silhouetting now against the background. So I'm just doing these slightly thicker branches with the number 6. And then I'm going to change to a rigger in a sec. So that's the thicker stuff out of the way, and I'm now using a size 2 rigger. This is the ProArti Series 103 rigger. And I'm going to try and jerk these branches around a bit to make them a little bit wobbly. So they come across, they get blown in the prevailing wind. They really are amazing. They're a little bit like bonsai trees, acacia. And it's just a case of flicking the paint along and trying to get these branches to jerk a little to make them look really natural. So I'll carry on doing that and we'll have a look at that in a sec. Okay, so I've painted the branches on. It took me a couple of minutes just to get those on, and I'm now going to use the Foliator. Well, this is the Foliator. It was designed by me in conjunction with the ProArti brush company as a stippling brush, and it's designed to create really effective foliage. Now, it's the only brush that we know in the world that's been made with a semicircular ferrule. You can see it's flat on one side, and this produces a mushroom-shaped profile. It's made in 3 sizes. This one is a large, and you can also get the medium and the small. And you can buy all 3 of these individually or as a set of 3. So I'm using the Mediumfoliator here. I've just wet it and I'm stirring it around in the paint, pressing it down to fill the brush head with paint. Now the brush head has a really firm hair in it and a really soft hair to hold the water so that you can deliver it exactly as you want to. Now I'm holding this at about 60 degrees to the paper, and it's just a very light bounce. And as you can see, it immediately produces the effect of foliage. Now there isn't too much on an acacia tree, so I don't want to overwork it. Put a little bit up there, shall we? Leaving a few little gaps. Right, so that's the trees done. I'm going to use a spearhead size 10. I'm going to fill that up. I'll put some water in the brush and I'm filling it up with the deep plum colour. And I'm going to scribble as much of that down here as I can first. So I said earlier, I'm just trying to blot the foreground out with a silhouette, and down here we've got all sorts of grasses growing, and I'll just show you how we can use the scimitar brush now to create these wonderful natural grasses. And this is the scimitar. It's a long brush which is crimped into a flat ferrule. It's got a nice long handle, very similar to the sword or sword liner that many of you may have seen. So I've just wet the brush, and as you can see, it's got this beautiful taper which curves and ends almost in a single hair. I'm rolling the brush round in that paint and filling it up, trying to get as much in it as I possibly can. And all I'm doing now is holding the brush quite near the end and flicking. I'll just show you one little trick you can do. I'll do a little bit just in here, coming up here. And what I'm going to do there now is I'm going to just do a couple of longer ones. I'm going to just scribble the brush like that. It's almost a wobble. It's not really in control. It just looks like little flower heads on the ends of the grass stems. So I'll just keep working on this. Again, probably only take me a couple of minutes. And then we'll see how it looks. I'm just going to have some birds on here. So a lot of birds migrate across the African plains. So I'll just put on a flock of birds. So it's just a little drop with the tip of the rigger, a little bobble and a lift away again. And I might just put another couple right up here. And the whole flock now looks like it's sort of sweeping in across the landscape. Well, that's finished painting, and as ever, they always look so much better when you put a mount on them. So there it is, that's my African sunset. Please do have fun having a go at that. Don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on another video.